Good morning. So, as promised, I have a couple of screencast videos for today in order to start the conversation about actual resources that we search in order to find information. So, if you're following along, you're welcome to log into Blackboard and do so, and you'll have a reason for doing that too. Before I get too far into the day's agenda, um, this video probably is started roughly around 9:30, and so Samantha, my GA, who will facilitate in my absence today, should collect the hard copies of your AP Style assignment. So why don't we go ahead and get that taken care of right now? And Samantha, if you wouldn't collect those for me, paper clip them, and make sure that they make their way to my department mailbox, I would appreciate that, and I'll pick those up and grade them as soon as I get back. So let's take care of that, and if you need to pause the video, go for it. Then, once collected, let's go back into the agenda. Now, I may have to break this down into a series of videos, so bear with me. But today in the online material, we've actually gone through several of these links, but I mention this merely to remind you that these links are still there. So this is meant to be a resource hub for you, and I think that some of these links could be valuable even beyond the scope of this course. So just something to keep in mind. Today we're going to start here. We're going to start talking about Google eventually, because that's where, quite honestly, most of us begin our searches. And then I don't know that I'll get to every single one of these links. That's not really the idea behind it. It's designed to have information in there that I think would be of interest to you, particularly as it's relevant to an information gathering class like this one. But we'll get all the way down to the Freedom of Information Act, and then between today, this Thursday, October 8th, and then next Thursday, and those series of videos, because I'll also be gone next Thursday, if you'll recall, in Missouri, we'll be talking about searching strategies, we'll be talking about evaluating source materials, and then the next time I see you in class in person will be Tuesday, October 20th, and you do have an assignment related to the content that we'll go over in these videos. That is your 10 source assignment. So you notice the deadline here. Nothing's stopping you from clicking on this link and going into the Word doc and starting it. However, I will tell you that I probably won't discuss this in greater detail for today's videos, but I probably will do it for next Thursday, because we'll be just that much closer to the day, and I'll be that much further into the material that I want to discuss. What you will want to go to, this AP Style assignment may not be visible anymore. If it's after 9:30 and it's been collected, it's probably no longer available to you, at least. But this will probably be the first thing that you see. And unlike on Tuesday, I did remember to put in the Word document this time. So if you go in and click on this, what should appear will be this document. Now, normally, if I were there, I would print this off, make copies, and then we have a paper cutter in the office. I hate wasting paper if I can avoid it. And so really what you're interested in is just the first third. There are repeat questions down here. So when you open this, it's not three separate things. It's redundant. But that's because when I copy this, then I slice it in thirds, and then I usually give out a hard copy to everybody in class. Can't do that today. So there are 7 questions, and this is a lot like what we did on Tuesday with the research process conversation. I want you to be able to answer these questions. So if after I've done my videos you still aren't able to answer these individually or collectively, well, then somebody shoot me an email so that we can make sure that you're able to answer those. So that is here under databases. It's not an assignment. Notice it just says that we'll do it in class on Thursday, October 8th. And depending on how far I go, we may revisit this document again next Thursday on October 15th. But I just want you to have some structure to this information that I'm throwing at you through these content videos. A lot of it is live demonstration, and even now, even though this is pre-recorded, at least at the time that I'm recording it, it's live in that I'm doing it real time here on my computer. So your assignments are there. A few more basic announcements before we move forward. the two quizzes that I promised you at the beginning, they're now available for you, and they will be available for you all the way through Tuesday, November 3rd, which would be the last day of this second 5-week session. So what that means is that you can go in, I think there's about 10, 11, 12 questions each, and the first one is directly related to that assignment that you just turned in. So depending on your level of confidence in AP Style, you might be able to go in and do that right now. Otherwise, you might wait until you get my feedback from this assignment you just turned in today. And the other one is related to the textbook readings that I have you do. Again, I don't really focus on the textbook in our in-class sessions, but I do want to make sure that you're reading it because I do think that there is some valuable information available to you there. So these, again, open note, open book, that's fine. As far as I'm concerned, you could work on them together, but you do need to individually submit them, and you need to do it by Tuesday, November 3rd. And so that's the timeline set aside for those. They are available to you. So let's do this. Let's go back up to, we'll just leave it on online material for now. And of course, if you do have questions, even though I'm not physically there for you to ask them right now, you're welcome, to send me an email, even if it is during class. I don't know, at the time that you meet on Thursday morning, I'm probably in some conference session at the Society of Environmental Journalists. That's where I'm at this week in Oklahoma City. And then next week, I'm at a trauma journalism conference in Columbia, Missouri, Tiger Country. So anyway, that's why I'm gone. Anyway, so one thing I wanted to point out, just wanted to piggyback off of the conversation we had about false balance on Tuesday. You might remember me talking about this. I think this is kind of important. Now, I realize this article is back in February, but that, in my eyes, is still pretty recent. And it does talk about this. Now, I did not, let's see. This is, hang on, which link is it? Here it is. Don't fall into the trap of false balance. When you click on that, if you're following along in Blackboard, and again, I would encourage that, this is what the link will redirect you to, this New York Times piece. And there was a great line in here, and let's see. Yeah, it's a little bit further down. Sorry about that. Blah, blah, blah wrote, as long as the New York Times keeps using the word debate in these kinds of stories, and what are these kinds of stories? Teaching of evolution, reality of climate change, whether or not voter fraud is widespread and rampant. Those were the issues that they're referencing here when they say the word debate in these kinds of stories. And giving credence to the other side, presumably in the name of balance, you are part of the problem. This is what I was talking to you about on Tuesday. I happen to agree with that statement. Dr. Michael Lockshin, a New York City physician, wrote, if the Times accepts that its duty is to inform its readers, then bland presentation of individuals' opinions without reference to underlying facts is unhelpful, even damaging. In other words, don't be lazy, New York Times reporters. Do your job, research it, fact check it, make sure that both sides are valid, relevant opinions, and that that is in fact conflict, worthy of reporting. If it's not, then there is no conflict, and you need to be filtering through what might be deniers of climate change or deniers of the Holocaust. I mean, there's always going to be a few random rogue individuals that go against scientific historical consensus. And so that was the point I was trying to make on Tuesday, and there's actually then, as it turns out, a news story related to that. And so I'm not going to go through this graph by graph, but I think that line in particular, talks about the importance of why you need to do your job. That without reference to underlying facts is unhelpful, even damaging. Obviously, we don't go into this profession with the attempt to, further muddy the issues. We're trying to seek the truth and report it. And that phrase that I just said should be very important to you. That is one of the 4 tenets of the Society of Professional Journalists Code of Conduct. All of you in this classroom hope and aspire to become professionals in this field. Well, the society, I don't have this already as a tab, so I'll just do it right now, real time. Professional Journalists Code of Ethics. There we go. I do believe it's the first one. Yeah. You are obligated to seek the truth and report it. Seek the truth. You have to find it first. You have to determine it through research, and then you report it. Not the other way around, which is oftentimes what happens. So, I don't know. I feel like I've beat this into the ground enough. You get it. But here's a current day issue that's talking about this, and the effort to try to change the conversation about climate change. The Associated Press, I mean, this seems really anticlimactic to me, but new guidance in the official AP style book, which you have, and we've gone through, is to use climate change doubters, or those who reject mainstream climate science. I don't know that I'm thrilled about that, but that's their change, and the idea is that they're supposed to be moving away from the word skeptics, trying to find a stronger word to show that yeah, here we go. They're dropping skeptic because it says the term only applies to those who use reason and evidence to reach conclusions, which in this case, they're not. They're denying the scientific consensus. And there is, in fact, a scientific consensus about climate change. So here was another article. This one's more recent. This one was just earlier this month in October, as in Monday. Well, actually, originally posted at the end of September 22nd. So still pretty recent. But, I mean, even our governing organization, that is the Associated Press, is trying to find ways to go about making more sense of some complex, convoluted topics. Because sometimes they're not as complex or convoluted. So I bring that to your attention. Just thought it'd be something to talk about. So let's go into Google, and I don't know if I can actually play this video. I could try it here as I'm recording, but I don't know that it's going to work. So what I wanted to do, I wanted to have you watch this video, and so there may be a way for us to do this even though I'm gone. I'll show you where this is. It is right here, this link. What happens when you search within Google? And my hint is, think spiders. That'll make more sense once you watch the video. So Samantha, you've got a choice here. I'm going to leave it up to you. We can have, they can watch it on their own computers, or if you want, I should have already sent you this link to this video. You can play it from the front computer up there and then pause my video. Your call. But I do think that, it would be helpful for you to watch this. It just kind of shows some of the underlying mechanisms of Google. It is a database, and so I'm going to leave it here. I'm not going to play it in this screencast, but if you do want to pause and watch it yourself, I would recommend that. And even if you don't, then I think you ought to watch it yourself. But I'll try to summarize audibly that basically all it's doing is that each database has certain nodes, and they call them spiders. That's why the reference. But what it is that depending on the strength of the database, there's going to be more spiders or nodes involved, from which once you enter what it is that you're searching for, it reaches out to those nodes and tries to grab information about it. And then after that, it tries to verify the legitimacy of it, stuff like that. But that's largely, I think, your job. But what it's trying to do is it's trying to make matches. So that's why when you do a search in Google, what usually appears is in the estimation of the algorithm, the relevance of that search finding to what it is that you're looking for. I mean, so it tries to make some educated guesses based on this advanced search through all these nodes or spiders of information in order to try to produce for you the most accurate result possible. And so different databases, are going to yield varying degrees of helpful search results because they may not be as advanced. And so that's something worth mentioning, and that's why most people, when they look for information, they need to know something, they'll start with Google because it usually is the strongest, most robust database. So that's what that video, I mean, it's kind of cool, and the way it shows it, much more exciting than the way I just explained it there. But I'm at about the time limit for this first part of the video. What I'll do when we pick up part 2, I'll start talking about certain search strategies then within Google.